Candidates debate with the focus being obviously on small business in North Simcoe. We have a live audience here at the Creative Nomad Studios in beautiful downtown Orillia, and we are joined with Nomad Studios in beautiful downtown Orillia, and we are joined of our candidates in the upcoming provincial election that are standing for the Simcoe North riding. Hosted by Creative Nomad Studios, and I'm your moderator for this evening. My name is Carrie Moran, and I'm with Pure Country 106. I do the mornings there, and I do the news package. So welcome to everyone. Thank you for coming out this evening to hear a little bit more about the candidates that are running in your riding. I'm going to just quickly go through who we have here this evening, because we do have some notable absences. For the Ontario Party, we have Aaron McDonald. Welcome, Aaron.
Thank you. For
the Liberal Party of Ontario, we have the other Aaron Caden Hiltz. With the NDP Party, we have Elizabeth Van Hoot. And with the Green Party, we have Crystal Brooks. So what I'm going to do is tell you a little bit about the people that are not here. The New Blue of Ontario candidate, Mark Duras, and incumbent Progressive Conservative, Jill Dunlop, have declined the invitation. They've cited other priorities and a lack of time. There's also a Libertarian Party member, candidate named William Jocelyn. So that kind of runs down what's going on in Simcoe County and what you'll see on your ballot come election day. So right off the top, let's meet the candidates. We are going to start with, let's start with Aaron McDonald. I think we need to get to know you just a little bit, because the party's fairly new and you're fairly new.
Well, thank you, Carrie. So first, I'd like to thank the Creative Nomad Studios for holding this event, the audience members that are in attendance, and everybody that's online. My name is Aaron McDonald. I'm a husband. I'm a father of 6 and 2 grandchildren. I currently work a tremendous amount of hours in the Midland area as a production supervisor and independent contractor, traveling around the area on top of doing this. Through the latter part of my career, I've really gotten more involved with the people that work for me, trying to help them out with their lives, make positive choices going forward. And I want to take that into this arena with me. As you may or may not know, I'm not a polished politician. I'm just one of the people that lives day to day, tries to pay my rent like everybody else, pay their hydro and their bills. One of the things that attracted me to the Ontario Party, which is very important to me, is that it allows me, it's a new look at politics. We want to expose the things that typically governments try to hide. We want to allow our candidates to be part of the system within their ridings. First, we don't have free votes, or we have free votes, we don't have whip votes. So I literally can vote for my constituents. And that's really important to me, because typically if you have an incumbent who doesn't vote for your constituents, that can be an issue, okay? And like everybody else, I'm just involved in this because I really want to make a change, and I want to help everyone else have a better life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Aaron McDonald from the Ontario Party. Next up, we have the other Aaron, as I've already referred to, Aaron Caden Hiltz. Welcome, Aaron. Tell people a little bit about yourself and why you're running for the Liberal Party.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Thank you to the folks from Creative Nomad Studios, and thanks for everyone for coming. I mean, this is our first in-person all-candidates meeting / debate. The other ones have been virtual, so it's good to see people coming back out and engaging with one another in ways where, you know, we can find a collective way to move forward when everything has been so very difficult. So as Carrie said, I'm Aaron Caden Hiltz. I'm the Ontario Liberal Party candidate for Simcoe North. I'm 30 years old, and I'm finishing my degree in political science and law at Lakehead University, just on the other side of town here. I live here with my partner Jasmine. We're really excited to put down roots. I've been a resident of the community for, you know, over 13 years. I was adopted when I was 17, and my mom had a farm just outside of Orillia, so I quickly fell in love with the little town here and Lake Couchiching and all the beaches. It didn't take long for that to happen. When I first decided I wanted to run for the Liberals, it was initially to tackle healthcare and education. But since then, you know, going around and speaking to so many different people about so many different local issues, it's become so much more than that. So it's about trying to keep the SS Keewatin home, right? It's about Burkevale School in Penetang that is, you know, dealing with a crazy space shortage. You know, there are folks around here that are doing the best they can under these, you know, very difficult circumstances, and we're not seeing an easy way out. And small business is a perfect example of that. I have friends who operate small businesses in this community. My sister operated a small business in this community. So these issues, they really hit home for me, and I'm really excited to hear more ideas and work with folks moving forward about how we can rebuild what has been broken over the last 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aaron. And then our next candidate that we'll learn a little bit more about is Elizabeth Van Hoot from the New Democratic Party of Ontario. Elizabeth.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Creative Nomad Studio, and for all of you who have come out tonight. I'm Elizabeth Van Hoot. I've lived in Orillia since 2010, raising my family. One of my proudest roles is being the mother of 16-year-old twin daughters. It's not an easy feat, as many of you may know. And I'm married. I live in this community, and I love this community, and this is why I'm running. This is my third time running, which should tell you that I'm committed to a riding that needs policy and practice of social economic policies that are in the best interest of everyone in this riding. I'm a 38-year social work veteran. I know I don't look that old. My body feels that old, but my mind doesn't feel that old. And I've worked in mental health programs, developing and working frontline in mental health programs. I've been in practice for the last 5 years, and I can tell you firsthand, as in private practice, the pandemic brought us to our knees. The pandemic has affected every single person in one way, shape, or form. So in 2018, we have a government elected who cut healthcare, cuts education, started building highways. If you don't have a strong healthcare system and an education system, you don't have a vibrant community. So we saw what the pandemic did. It magnified the gaping holes in the things that we treasure, our healthcare system, which, by the way, Tommy Douglas, our leader, brought in, and I'm seeing it falling apart. Priority is to be here for you, present, visible, and to work with all of you in developing the best life here in Simcoe North. Thank you.
Perfect timing. Thank you very much.
I got cut off at the last debate, so.
I won't hesitate to do it, Elizabeth, just a fair warning. Crystal Brooks, Green Party, please introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about yourself and why you're running for the Green Party.
So my name is Crystal. I am 29 years old, and like Elizabeth, actually, I moved to Orillia when I was 10 years old. So I believe it was 2010 when I moved here. But anyway, sorry. Yeah. So I. Like Aaron McDonald, I'm not a polished politician. I have a lot of lived experience, and I just really care about making some changes that I think we really need to see right now. So I am a survivor of the child welfare system and human trafficking, and I've been homeless, and I have mental health and addictions, and I just have a lot of lived experience. But one thing that I actually cannot relate to is small businesses. I have absolutely no experience in regards to small business. So for me, this tonight is really, really important for me, and I know for a lot of other people. It's been very educational, just trying to get to know small businesses and the issues surrounding small business. So I am really happy that this has happened, and I'm very grateful to Creative Nomad Studios for putting this on and everybody that was a part of it. Why I'm running for the Green Party, though, is it's a party that I feel very I feel very safe with. If I were to be elected as an MPP, I am able to vote with my conscience, and I'm able to vote based on my constituents and how they want me to vote. And, sorry.
That's okay.
Am I, okay.
You have 7 seconds, if you can wrap it up.
Yeah, I guess that's all.
Well, thank you very much, Crystal. Thank you for your honesty as well. The format for this evening will be as follows. We have 3 questions, which have been already provided in advance to the candidates, so they're aware of what the questions contain. I've kind of rewritten them a little bit, so it won't be exactly word for word. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer. Once everyone has answered the questions, each candidate will get 30 seconds for rebuttal to respond to the other candidates. Each candidate will then be provided an opportunity to ask one other candidate a question. Responses will be limited to 2-minute answers and a 30-second rebuttal. It's perfectly fair for you to ask a question of a candidate who is not here, and I think the question itself will probably speak to the issue that you want to bring up with that particular candidate. So have no fear that that's going to be permitted. The candidate obviously won't be able to answer, so you'll get actually 2 minutes for the question and a 30-second rebuttal, so you can kind of use that time as you will. So a little bit of background before we get into the questions. The pandemic of the past few years, as all of you have really noted, has brought tremendous uncertainty to Ontario businesses, just tremendous uncertainty. Small business owners in particular are facing challenges as they look to recover and prosper as we go forward. The Ontario Chamber of Commerce says making it easier to do business in Ontario must be an election priority. This week, their president and CEO, I'm not sure if you're aware, actually called on the parties to share their vision for Ontario's economic recovery. In part, Rocco Rossi said the top issues of the campaign have so far been healthcare, affordability, and jobs, which we're not saying are not important issues, absolutely are important issues, and they're all critical to Ontario's economy. But he noted that none of the parties has outlined plans focusing on growth, such as workforce development, immigration, technology, infrastructure, clean energy, and support for the hardest hit sectors. Businesses are looking for strategies that will tie all these things together. Those are his words, not mine. In Simcoe County, I did a little bit of research, and you may have done the same. According to the 2016 census, the labor force in Simcoe County at that point was 238,000 or so. 30,000 are self-employed. 30,000, that's a lot of people. So a lot of people are impacted by the questions that you're going to be hearing tonight. So even if there are only 1 or 2 employees with those 30,000 people, that's a lot of people here in Simcoe County that rely on small business. So on to the questions. And we're going to start it this way. We're going to start with Aaron McDonald and then move down the line. And then the next question will start with Aaron Caden-Hiltz and move down the line. And once you've answered your questions, then we'll go to the 30-second rebuttals. So over the last 4 years, the cost of being in business has increased at an alarming rate. Small businesses are taxed more heavily than larger corporations, and wages have also increased, forcing small businesses to raise their prices, which in turn makes it that much more difficult for them to be competitive, especially against the larger corporations. Not to mention that online retailers in the US and around the world, outside of our region and outside of the country. On top of that, the COVID-19 business supports will have to be repaid in 2023, long before most of those small businesses are able to fully recover from the impacts of the pandemic. If elected, how would you intervene to help close the gap between small and large businesses to allow smaller businesses to be more competitive? And would you press the government to forgive the COVID loans and put an end to tax increases for small businesses? Aaron McDonald, we'll start with you.
Thank you very much, Gary. So the Ontario Party stands behind our small business sector. We believe that they have been unfairly shut down throughout the last 2 years while corporate entities were deemed essential and permitted not only to stay open but to reap the benefits of these lockdowns. Many new businesses, already vulnerable during regular times, were further impacted by the nature or by not meeting certain thresholds by this government because they could not either provide a sales history, employee quantity amounts, or many other number of dictated requirements for support. As of 2020, Ontario small business made up to just under 98% of all businesses, 85% of the working population. So by locking down and hindering small business, this current government negatively impacted the lives of entrepreneurial business owners, the majority of hardworking people, and overall the economy of Ontario. The Ontario Party would ensure that all businesses continue to have the ability to stay open for business. If large corporations are deemed essential, so are our small businesses. As your MP, I would advocate for small and medium-sized businesses to have access to the same grants and loans that corporations are afforded. If elected, I would press the government to forgive the COVID-19 loans granted to small businesses and put a moratorium in place to prevent any new tax increases, as well as review the current tax burdens placed on small businesses already. These businesses are critical to our economy and should be treated as fairly as corporations. It was this government that made the decision to shut them down, and the onus is on this government to support their restart and survival. The fact that our current MPP is actually absent from this discussion speaks volumes for how the last 4 years have been. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Aaron McDonald from the Ontario Party. Next up, Aaron Caden-Hiltz from the Liberal Party. Same question.
Thank you, Carrie. So this event tonight is called Let's Get Real, and yeah, let's get real. Small businesses were straight up screwed over the course of the pandemic. That's just how it worked, right? Mega corporations, Walmart, Costco, Amazon, they were operating seemingly unimpeded, selling everything under the sun while small businesses were facing unfair closures. So part of the Ontario Liberal plan to deal with that is to cut the corporate tax rates for businesses that are most affected by the pandemic, and we want to remove incorporation fees for new businesses, because we all know that local business is the heart of our local economy. Dollars spent in local businesses often stay in that community. They help, bring other local businesses up. They go to sponsorships for sports teams. They go to local charities. We should be focusing heavily on the small business community outside of those corporations. I don't plan on being a friend to any of those corporations at all. My focus is going to be on small business in that regards completely entirely. So yes, in short, I would push the government to forgive those loans because for the reasons that I said, local business is super important. I have friends and family who are affected by this. Many of us have friends and family who are affected by this, and it's our lifeblood here. And that's the reality that we live in. During the pandemic, these big corporations got super rich, and they took advantage of the situation that was happening. So in order to make those changes, we need to help support the small businesses in our communities so that something like this can't happen again. Thanks.
Thank you. That was Aaron Caden-Hiltz for the Liberal Party. Next up, we have NDP candidate Elizabeth Van Hoot. Same question.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Yeah, the pandemic, this is how I want to start in terms of how I see it. What the pandemic did was, as I said earlier, show these gaping holes. So the last 30 years has been a reactive government. You can't be reactive when you're dealing with people's lives and the economy. We can predict and we can make plans to, we didn't know the pandemic was coming, but I think if we were prepared for that, we wouldn't have seen the serious effects that it had. The opening and closing of small business. I've talked to the small business people here in this community, and what they said, it was the uncertainty. It was the lack of leadership. 1 week we're open, the next week we're closed. Then we have to, are we wearing masks? Are we not wearing masks? Are we, and human beings need predictability. And when you don't have that, not only do you suffer financially, but you suffer physically, mentally. Many people couldn't keep their businesses open, had no income. And as Aaron alluded to, the big box stores made out like bandits. That sickens me. I believe in local economy, and that as your MPP, my work when I get elected, is to come to small business, to come to these communities collectively and say, what can I do? I don't have the answers, okay? I know a lot, but I don't know everything, okay? So you go to the people and you say, what is it that you need? The fact that people are expected to pay back their grants already when their businesses are not full grown is unacceptable. And in terms of COVID-19 loans, yes, we need to put a moratorium on it and tax
Thank you,
increase.
Elizabeth.
Yes, thank you.
That was Elizabeth Van Hoot from the NDP party. Our next candidate to speak to the issue will be Crystal Brooks from the Green Party. Go ahead, Crystal.
I do agree that people need predictability in regards to their government. I also believe that people need trust and faith in their government, and I don't believe very many have that. And I know that many small businesses do not have trust or faith in their government. You know, many small businesses are 6 figures in debt right now, and they can't pay back those loans. That's $190,000 worth of debt, and that is unpayable for small businesses. Meanwhile, big box stores, they've made a profit during the pandemic, and Doug Ford, he catered to those big box stores, and I think that that's wrong, and I think that there needs to be tax cuts for small businesses. I also think that incorporating more grants into small businesses, investing into small businesses is really important. Also, I think that just more incentives to shop local and focus on local, specifically food sources and food security. Just investing in local businesses, and it would really help grow our economy right now, which is really, really hurting. So yes, I would push for to sorry. Yeah, sorry. Thank you. I would push for the COVID relief. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you very much. That was Crystal Brooks from the Green Party. Now you'll get 30 seconds for rebuttal, for response to the other candidates, or for something that you may not have thought about in the first part. So 30 seconds, and Aaron, we'll start with you from the Ontario Party.
I guess my question again will be for open air. But again, we've seen this government over the last 2 years specifically, but even over the last 4 years, flip-flop on several issues that they've brought up. And I've already said it, where if the MPP for Simcoe North is going to continue to be absent when questions are posed, especially of their constituents, it's unacceptable.
Thank you very much, Aaron. All right, rebuttal, Aaron Caden-Hiltz from the Liberal Party.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron's right about the flip-flop. It's been brutal, opening, closing, opening, closing. I had friends who worked in the restaurant industry and had to deal with this, right? And they told me stories about the owners of these local restaurants who were told that they were going to be open, went out and bought a bunch of food and drink, and then were told 2 days or 3 days later that they were going to close, right? So all that food goes to waste, and then these small businesses end up incurring so much debt based on miscommunication. And it's miscommunication that's continues to put us in these positions.
Thank you, Aaron. Elizabeth, 30 seconds.
We, as the NDP party, are proposing a small business recovery grant, and that is to assist small businesses in the recovery of the pandemic and be able to build their businesses to their fullest fruition. The grants that went out and asking business to pay for them, I don't know if any of you know, but a majority of those grants went to businesses that were not eligible. They went to big business. So there was no oversight. You should be angry.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, our 30 seconds, Crystal.
Yeah, no, I guess I'll just add that Mike Schreiner has repeatedly called for a third round of the COVID relief benefits to small businesses, and expanding the criteria because it was fairly specific and it limited who that money could go to. Yeah, and I think that there needs to be more grants for small businesses. So thank you.
Thank you. 30 seconds goes a lot quicker than you think, doesn't it? Okay, we'll move along to our second question. Question 2. In Simcoe North, women-owned businesses make up a large proportion of the total number of small businesses. Yet during the pandemic, it was women that faced a disproportionate number of hurdles and barriers to success. It resulted in a greater loss of income than their male counterparts. Among the challenges, including endemic pay inequity, caring for children and elderly family members, managing homeschooling, and navigating other disruptions during the pandemic. What is your understanding of the impact women-led businesses have on your riding, and what do you understand the hurdles and difficulties faced that they're facing? If elected, what actions would you take to remedy these issues? We'll start this time with Erin Caden-Hiltz from the Liberal Party.
Thanks, Carrie. That's a great question. Firstly, I can never understand what it is like to be a woman in business because I am not. I think one of the more important things is to listen and to communicate effectively and try to hear their concerns as best as you can. But another part of this question really is personal for me because I have a sister who has 2 small children, and her main source of income during the pandemic and before that was she was an equestrian trainer. So she taught people how to ride horses. I didn't let her teach me. There was no way I was getting on the back of one of those things. But yeah, that was her job, right? And with shutdowns and lockdowns, and it's kind of you have to be in a position where you're really close to someone. You're walking beside a horse next to them. She also has 2 small children, right? And we were talking about the Ford flip-flop before. At-home learning, back in school learning, back at home learning, back in school learning. That throws parents for a loop. It was completely unfair, right? So she's trying to make a schedule based on that, and it's totally unfair. I was also disappointed to see how long the Conservative government took to sign a childcare deal with the federal government. And that's something that could benefit a lot of people who are dealing with those situations. When it comes to the pay gap between men and women, it shouldn't exist. If people are doing the same work, whether you're male, female, or other, you should get paid the same regardless. And that's something that I'll continue to fight for. Back to going to school, the children should be at school. So we shouldn't have to be dealing with the miscommunication around flip-flop of, at-home learning and back at school learning. So the Ontario Liberals are going to scrap mandatory e-learning. We're going to get rid of that entirely. Children belong in school, and hopefully that frees up enough time so that women who are invested in their small businesses are able to do that in a way that doesn't conflict with their everyday schedule. Thanks.
Thank you. Elizabeth Van Hoot from the NDP, same question.
Thank you. I'm a woman, obviously, and actually have, during my career, faced pay equity discrimination blatantly, and when I complain, I've lost 2 jobs in my career as a result of that. One in Canada and one in the US. So it's rampant everywhere. Women make 74 cents on every man's dollar. And we're in 2022, I shake my head. I have 16-year-old twin daughters. What do I tell them? You'll never make the amount of money that your male counterparts will make. It's kind of a troubling thing to think of. Women in small business, because of the pandemic, women in general have been tremendously affected by the pandemic with childcare, trying to run their businesses. Honey, what's for dinner when you get home after working 12 hours and homeschooling your kids and that kind of thing. I just want to reiterate, I attended a breakfast here a few weeks ago on, Katie Ward was here, who is the pay equity commissioner, and she said something that I thought was really profound, and she said, it's not equal pay for equal work, it's equal pay of equal value. Love it. Women's roles are devalued, but I do want to end by saying I am so proud to be part of a party that we have over 50% of women in our caucus, the first in the history of this province. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Next up, Katie Brooks from the Green Party.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
I can. What is your understanding of the impact women-led businesses have on your riding? What do you understand of the hurdles and difficulties they face? And if elected, what actions would you take to remedy those issues?
Yeah, I know childcare is a really big issue, as well as caregivers, those who are caring for their senior family members. I think that there's a few things that I think would really help with this. One is a universal basic income. I think that would really help in this situation. I also think that really addressing the wage issue, like Elizabeth touched on, is a huge issue. But yeah, we were the last province to sign a deal with the federal government on an affordable childcare contract, and it was really unfortunate. But yeah, the average person working a minimum wage job is making 40 hours a week. They're making approximately $2,500. And the average cost of rent here in Simcoe North is, for a one bedroom, is over $1,300. And to be able to even afford childcare on top of all of your basic needs as well as rent is really difficult. But there's so many issues and I know that it disproportionately affects women, and we really need to be addressing that. It's really unfortunate. I wasn't aware of a lot of the issues until I started reading about this before this debate, and yeah, it's definitely a really good conversation that we need to start having.
Okay, thank you, Crystal. We'll move on to Aaron McDonald from the Ontario Party. Same question, Aaron.
Thanks, Gary. Obviously, there's been lots of the things that have been brought up on the panel so far, but not only do women face the same challenges of men, but they also tend to also negatively impacted based on the type of business venture they go in. Statistically, men will go more into manufacturing and those types of jobs, whereas women typically will go into service-related issue, retail, things that were really negatively impacted by the pandemic. Service industries and smaller businesses tend to get hit the hardest. When most women-led businesses don't employ enough staff, whether it be the use of contractors, it could just be them running their own businesses. You mentioned earlier, 1 and 2 people within those businesses. Most of the support mechanisms the government put out, they didn't qualify for, which didn't help them during this period. Besides the previously mentioned areas, women also find themselves, again, as the panel said, into family-related matters. And due to the lockdowns and the flip-flop, being able to plan your schedules around having the kids, not having the kids, they're in school, they're not, was really difficult. Basically, we need to look at how we support them going forward, right? As I said in the previous question, we need to support the small businesses of Ontario. A good proportion of those are women-led. So we need to make sure that we're there for them. I would advocate for more resources and support, such as targeted learning opportunities, whether it be provided by the government or other. I would also recommend potentially different loan programs to address the needs of women-led enterprises, and look to introduce maybe some tax incentives to help support family-related matters. We need to support women enterprises and to address the issues that impact the most. So we need to make sure we support their success in their ventures. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aaron. You'll now get that really quick 30 seconds for rebuttal, and we will start with the person who started answering the questions first, Aaron Caden-Hiltz from the Liberal Party.
Thanks, Gary. Yeah, part of that question I didn't get a chance to address, but elder care is so important, right? My sister helped take care of my grandparents. My mom helped take care of my grandparents. She was a teacher. She retired in the middle of the pandemic because she showed up to work into a portable with 36 students. So, women in business or working women, they shouldn't have to deal with all of this all on their plate all at the same time. So we want to revolutionize elder care and help folks age at home if that's possible.
Perfect, thank you. Elizabeth?
Thank you. What I want to say here, I want to talk about what our reality is with what happened with the pandemic. There was stalled legislation to increase pay transparency. This government took women to court to prevent them from being paid equally, specifically midwives. This government passed Bill 124 that limited pay for a predominantly female professions
5
such
seconds,
as
Elizabeth.
nursing, PSW, and our current minister, our current
I'll have to hold
MPP.
you there, thank you. I saw you, you were struggling, you almost got it, but. Yeah. Crystal,
Yeah, no, just to, I wanted to talk about seniors care as well. Allowing our seniors to be able to age at home. Over 95% of our seniors actually want to age at home. So making that more possible by investing in at-home care is really, really important, and that is an issue. So, thank you.
thank you. And Aaron McDonald, Ontario Party.
Again, I'm going to bring it back to those that aren't here. I think it's really important that, obviously, Aaron and I can't compare ourselves to what women go through and everything else, but I think it's important that we should have had at least a third voice here to support small business and the endeavors that should have taken place, and it's a shame.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Third question, question number 3. And this time we are going to start with Elizabeth Van Hoot. Okay, the question. While certain regulations such as environmental standards and employee protections are needed in order to protect all citizens, other costs are making it very difficult for small businesses to operate. They include skyrocketing insurance fees, including a 70% increase in business insurance, rents that have more than doubled over the course of the pandemic, and as previously mentioned, that need to repay COVID loans. If elected, would your party intervene with insurance providers or the federal government to roll back some of these expenses or find ways to deal with them? How would you address the task of leveling the playing field for consumers when it comes to insurance, rent, utilities, fuel? We all know about fuel right now. So, all right, so we will start with Elizabeth, and you have 2 minutes.
Let's see if I can do this. I want to start with insurance. Insurance companies are ruling our world. They bump our rates up. I know that small business pays an exceptional amount in insurance. We're also paying auto insurance. We do have a plan to reduce auto insurance. Utility costs, I was under the impression when this government came in 2018 that our hydro would be lowered. I haven't seen that yet, and in fact it has increased. So there's no reason for that. Our public hydro was sold off by the Liberal government, which doesn't help because they will regulate the prices. And lastly, for rent, it's the speculators and the big corporations that are buying up the properties in this area all across the province and charging an exorbitant amount of money for rent. Small business, it was a hard time getting my own campaign office in this town, trying to find a place that we could afford for the length of this campaign. So those are some of the ways that I think, or that I believe and would promote our government to be able to do. And check our platform out. It's very clear about how we're going to make life more affordable, including those for small business. Thank you. I did it.
Wow. You did it.
How much time do I have
With
left?
time to spare.
Okay.
All right, same question, Crystal Brooks, Green Party.
Okay, so so keeping in mind that the average small business has to pay back $190,000 worth of, they're in $190,000 worth of debt. Sorry. On top of that, they are paying high insurance costs, and that includes cell phone companies and internet, all of that stuff, and then the high rent on top of that, which I think that a lot of these landlords there needs to be rent control. They shouldn't be able to just jack up the rent and double it the way that they have been doing. I think that the Green Party has a really, really good platform on investing in our small businesses and really putting back into our economy, and it's all very ecology focused, and it's very green, and we have sorry.
Deep breath.
Sorry, it's been a day. Yeah. I think the biggest thing for me is actually listening to small businesses. I have tried so hard to read the Green Party platform. I have tried so hard to read articles online and learn about the issues going on in small businesses. I want to hear from small businesses. I don't want to read it online. I don't want to study it the way I've been trying to. I want to hear from small businesses. I want to listen to you, and I want to bring your voices to Queen's Park.
Thank you, Crystal.
Sorry.
Deep breaths. We're just having a conversation, so you're doing fine. You're doing fine. Alrighty. Now, Aaron McDonald from the Ontario Party, same question.
All right, thanks, Carrie. So the Ontario Party will be and is willing to intervene on behalf of small business. We believe small business and small business owners already face the uncertainty of success in the first few years of operation and should be afforded as much support as possible to help improve their chances of success. I would advocate for a review of all insurance rates directed at small and medium-sized businesses. I wouldn't necessarily rule out regulation, but typically keeping competition between providers allows for better rates for small instead of just leaving them as is. It also incentivizes competition between. We would encourage entrepreneurship by reducing the paperwork and cutting the fees associated with starting a business. We talk about the fuel costs and gas prices and those types of things. By partnering with Western provinces, we would push to create an energy corridor between Ontario and Alberta, reducing the overall energy costs. The Ontario Party would eliminate the PST on gasoline and diesel while the price is still at elevated levels, which would save roughly 16 cents per liter at today's gas prices. Gas prices today impact every business directly or indirectly, and we want to create relief immediately from business to consumer. We'll eliminate the provincial carbon tax and seek to challenge the federal carbon tax as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Aaron Caden-Hiltz from the Liberal Party, you're up next.
Thanks, Carrie. So realistically, it shouldn't be this hard to operate a business in Ontario or in Orillia or in Midland, right? Facing those odds during the pandemic is one thing, but skyrocketing insurance and utility rates, fuel rates, those are totally different things, right? These small businesses around here have struggled enough, and to overload them and take advantage of them, these corporations that hold property by upping their rent, by jacking up the prices for utilities is wrong. So addressing that is something that I find really important. I'm willing to work with the municipal government and the federal government to find solutions to that, whether that be through a little bit of regulation or by providing funding and supports. You mentioned fuel, Carrie. That's a really hot topic right now. It's for the first, I drive a Ford Focus, right? It used to be $40 to fill up. Now it's like $80 to fill up. And that's something that's a huge issue. When people can't get to work, when people can't go and visit friends, when people can't go see family, when they can't go out to have fun, those speak to a really systemic issue. And our environmental way to deal with that is this awesome transit program that I've been talking about for the past few weeks. It's called Buck a Ride, which is a play on Doug Ford's Buck a Beer, but this is tangible and it can be done. We want to be able to provide clean transit to anybody in Ontario, whether that's your municipal transit, your Ontario Northland bus, or the GO systems for $1 a ride anywhere in the province. And that is going to benefit me, that's going to benefit people around the community, people who are going from Midland to Toronto to watch a sports game. It's going to benefit all of us, right? And then we can help lower those greenhouse gas emissions in the process. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you, Aaron. Okay, so we've come to our rebuttal area, and it's come to my attention that one of the, and you can address this in your rebuttal or you don't have to. It's come to my attention that business insurance premiums, at least one business locally has said it has increased 70% as a result of COVID. COVID was the was the reason that was provided for that increase. So I don't know if you only have 30 seconds, so it's pretty hard to really drill down on it, but I thought I would give you the opportunity maybe to respond to that, but you don't have to respond to that in your rebuttal. So we will start with NDP Elizabeth Van Hoot.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing that up. I have heard that. In fact, my brother is a contractor, small business, one person in his small business, and his insurance went up $1,000. He makes under $60,000 a year, and I felt sick for him on that. So yeah, insurance companies rule. They make policies. They make a lot of money, first of all, and they make policies that are not in the best interest.
5 seconds.
Oh my gosh. We want to make insurance more affordable, and we
I
want to...
have to hold you there, Elizabeth.
I should have answered your question, Carrie. I should have went, but that's okay. I got out what I wanted to say.
Okay, good. All right. Same opportunity for you, or you can use your rebuttal time for whatever you like, but as Elizabeth has noted, it's really not a lot of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so at the end of the day, insurance companies are lobbyists, and they work for the benefit of the government, our current government, and just trying to eliminate that corporate money from our politics is really important, and it's definitely something that the Green Party is committed to doing. In fact, when we are actually receiving donations in campaigning, we don't actually receive corporate money. We can't receive donations from anybody but individuals and supporters.
I have to hold you there, Crystal, sorry. Thank you. All right, Erin McDonald, Ontario Party. Same quandary for you.
Perfect. I'm just going to add on to my previous one about the carbon taxes. We feel we don't need to have carbon taxes to penalize businesses and individuals. Everyone in here gets impacted by the Trudeau carbon tax. We want to put money back into your pocket, but we do need to hold businesses and municipal governments accountable for dumping wastewater into our environment. We need more money in the pockets of the people to help them pay for the essentials we need every day. We need a new way to look at things.
5. Oh.
Thank you.
Got it in there. All right, and Erin Cadenhill, same kind of quandary.
You said 70% increase?
Yes.
Did the insurance company get sick? Does the insurance company not have paid sick days? Right? Welcome to the reality for a lot of people that live here and a lot of people that live in these communities. That's an outrageous statement of greed, and it's appalling, and anything that I can do to stop that is of paramount importance. That's ridiculous.
Thank you. All right, so those are our 3 prepared questions, and now we come to the candidate-to-candidate questions. So how this works is we are going to allow each candidate to ask another candidate, whether they're here or not, a question. That candidate will have 2 minutes to respond. And then after that, the person who asked the question will have 30 seconds rebuttal once again. So again, the candidate does not have to be here. And we are going to start with Crystal Brooks from the Green Party.
This one's for Erin McDonald. I just was wondering, are you talking about scrapping the carbon tax?
We're talking about eliminating the current carbon tax, yes.
Like in its entirety?
Yes.
Wouldn't it make more, can I respond?
Well, yeah, you get 30-second rebuttal.
Okay. Wouldn't it make more sense to actually tax the carbon polluters in our society rather than punishing the individuals? Like you said, I do agree. Wouldn't it make more sense to tax?
I'm not saying we don't penalize the people that are producing the most carbon, but the taxes is a carte blanche across the board. It's not directed at corporations. It's directed at everybody.
Well, that's just it, and it's being misdirected. I agree. I do agree with that, but it is necessary for big corporations that are the
I think we could go back to
carbon
potentially
polluters.
putting in, I will talk more about reducing regulations in a lot of ways. Environment's not necessarily one of those things.
There. Very good back and forth though. Very respectful, and I appreciate that. All right.
I know green issues. great with green issues.
Okay, sure, we can do that. It's been suggested to me that we should give the other two candidates 30 seconds to respond to that question as well, or a rebuttal. No? Aaron?
Yeah, so as much as folks like to call the federal carbon pricing plan a tax, it's actually revenue neutral, so it doesn't fit the definition of a tax because a lot of that comes back when you do your income tax. Secondly, I think it's really important to realize that Ontario has its own carbon tax. It's called the Emissions Performance Plan, and it is an actual tax, whereas that money goes into government coffers, and it's a Doug Ford plan.
Gonna have to hold you there. Okay. All right, so our next question will be from Aaron McDonald.
Again, unfortunately, I won't get an answer. Small business is, as I said before, crucial to the economy of Ontario and Canada and most countries. To have someone that has basically been absent for 4 years representing this constituency and that not showing up, especially to the first live event on small business, to be able to answer the questions that should be answered by this government, again, is appalling. We should have that person here so that we can hold them to account the way any MPP should be held account throughout Ontario. And not having that chance to do that is unacceptable. As MPP, I want to be part of the community. I want to stay part of the community. I've interacted with many people. It's just like everyone else over the last few days, whether it be the hospice. I've got another meeting with a group of mothers for opiate crisis, stuff like that. Some of the stories you hear are heart-wrenching, and we need to be involved in our community. That's what this job is, and that's what I want to bring to the table.
Thank you. Would any of the other candidates like to have 30 seconds to respond to that? Aaron?
Yeah, so it's not directly a response to what Aaron was saying, but I think that we together should use this opportunity to call out the current MPP, who is the Minister of Colleges and Universities, for not committing to attend a forum about colleges and universities. This is the portfolio that she manages, that she's in charge of, and for her to be not accountable to people that are involved in and working in those systems is atrocious.
Elizabeth or Crystal?
Do we have, can we do this is part to Aaron, what Aaron
Yes.
is saying? Yes, okay. Yeah, you have to be in your community and you have to be present and you have to listen and show compassion and empathy for every single person and what their life looks like. Leadership has been absent, and I want to speak to that a little bit later when I ask my question. Presence and leadership and visibility is what a really good politician is about. I've never thought of myself as a politician. I see myself as a citizen and a social worker.
There, Elizabeth. Thank you. Crystal?
I just want to say that I know I know very little about small businesses. I don't know if anybody's noticed. I don't know if anybody's noticed that I am really, really nervous tonight. I still showed up.
Yes, you did. All right. All right, we're coming to our Liberal candidate, Aaron Caden-Hiltz. Is there any questions that you would like to ask either a candidate who's here or one who is not?
Yeah, part of my question was to ask MPP Dunlop if she were going to come to the LUFA and LUSU debate, the Lakehead University Faculty Association and the Lakehead University Student Union debate or forum, whichever you want to call it. But yeah, I took the opportunity to piggyback off of what Aaron was saying to do that. Super important to be accountable, right? Like I'm new to this as well. This is my first time running, and I'm meeting with people, and I'm taking phone calls, and I'm, getting Instagram messages about vaccines and this and that, and I'm trying my best to respond to everybody and to provide information, even if it's not the most convenient for me, because it's part of the job. And if you can't do your job, then why are you here, right? That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Okay. Would anybody else like to respond to Aaron's, or have we exhausted that issue at this point? I have a feeling it's going to come up again. Okay, Elizabeth Van Hoot.
I want to use this time to talk about leadership again. And I looked up some of the greatest leaders of all time and what it is they brought people together. And this government has been divisive and absent. Ms. Dunlop is not here tonight. She could have talked about the gas prices. The Ontario Energy Board does have power under the influence of the government to cap our gas prices. They have not done that, and we're all suffering. This government is about, Jill, cuts and buddies. Cuts, cuts, cuts. Who are my friends? Who are my friends? And you don't answer to the people who live, are working and lower income families who are struggling to eat and to afford a place to rent. My father said this to me. He was an immigrant from Belgium. He said, if you have a roof over your head and your belly's full, you have no complaints. And I always used to roll my eyes, as you do when your father has these messages. 2022, people can't afford a place to rent or to live, and they're hungry. What's wrong with this world, Jill? What have you created here? And what has the last 30 years been with the Conservative and the Liberal government shaving the systems down that we're in this point of crisis? So, Jill, I hope that your constituents are going to pay attention at the polls, and hope you answered their calls and emails, because you didn't answer any of mine. Thank you.
I'm going to provide all the candidates another 30 seconds if you want to weigh in on Elizabeth's comments. I'll start with you, Aaron McDonald from the Ontario Party.
Again, I'll jump on the pile. I've received emails, messages, text messages, phone calls, and like everybody else said, everybody's busy. They're going day to day, and I answer every single one of them personally, address it, and move forward. And I'll continue to do that going forward.
Okay. Aaron?
Yeah, I think that those are important qualities, right? It's being accountable isn't always easy. I learned that really at a really young age. When I was 17, I got into so much trouble. And my mom, who adopted me, she taught me patience and accountability, and it wasn't easy, right? But it's part of moving forward, and it's part of serving your community, and it's recognizing that, you know, you're not perfect, but you try, and that's important to me.
Crystal, did you want to weigh in?
So for me, in order to be here, physically be here in the way that I am here, I had to learn to be accountable to myself and accountable to those around me. I'm an alcoholic and addict in recovery, and I just celebrated a 1.5 years yesterday. In order to do that, I needed to learn accountability. I had to learn that, and I think that it's lacking in this riding.
Thank you very much. Well, we've come to the end of our questions. I'm going to give you each 2 minutes to give your last pitch to the people at home watching on live streaming.
Sorry, I'm interrupted.
That's okay. Does anybody in the audience have any questions in the live audience? Respectful questions in the live audience. Do you want to? Okay. Yeah, well. Yep. All right, please identify yourself and ask your question.
All right, my name is Matthew. I think most of the people on the stand know who I am here, and most people in the room probably. And, you know, I don't think we should all be dogpiling Jill on not being here tonight. She may have just forgotten the password to her email and, you know, was too embarrassed to ask. But my question for everybody here is, what is everybody's position on universal basic income as a means of support of taking the money from the top, cycling it to the bottom, and then continuously cycling it through the system to help support small businesses?
Thank you for your question. Let's start with Aaron Caden-Hiltz.
Thank you, Matt, for the question. That's one of the reasons why I joined the Ontario Liberal Party, is because when I was in school, I studied the Universal Basic Income Pilot Project, and I studied the data for it because I wrote like a 15-page paper on it, and about what that money was used for. So it was actually used to start small businesses. It was used to provide adequate housing. It was used to get dental work done. It was used to go back to school. So when the Ford government came in, they canceled that program. It's one of the first things that they did. But I think that, smart governance and smart policy means looking at the data, and I'm more than willing to support the reinstatement and the expansion of that program so that we can lift people out of poverty. We know that we have the power to do so. We just need the political will to do it.
Thank you. So just so you know, we're giving you a minute to answer these questions. 1 minute, 1 minute, not 30 seconds. It's a little bit more. Okay. So we'll go to you, Elizabeth Van Hoot.
Thanks, Matt, for that question. Our party is for the working people. We believe in a livable wage. Completely disappointed upon the election of this government that the universal basic income projects that were statistically proven to be the most effective way to lift people out of poverty were trashed immediately, and businesses and housing and all the things that come with it. We believe in a minimum wage increase, and we've also increased our ODSP for those who are on disability, 20% increase in upon our election, and a doubling their income, which would take them a little over $2,000, and then moving that slowly up into a living wage that matches what it is to have a good life. I'm done.
Oh,
Yeah. Thanks.
well done.
Thank you.
Crystal, a minute to speak to that issue.
Yes, the Green Party is very committed to a universal basic income, and it would really help lift those above the poverty line. And so many are living under that poverty line right now, and they're struggling to meet their basic needs. And it's really, really important. And it, yeah. But we also, like Elizabeth said, we are wanting to double the ODSP rates as well, and universal basic income would not be exempt to ODSP recipients, so it would be an added income for them as well. Also, I lost my train of thought, I'm sorry.
No problem.
I blame the ADHD. Yeah, no, I'm really supportive of UBI. It's so important that we lift these people out of poverty.
Okay. Aaron McDonald, Ontario Party.
Again, thanks, Matt, for the question. The universal basic income, I don't have all the stats and the data that came out, any of the studies or anything like that. I'm just going based on my own, I'll say my own opinion and that of our party, is that we want to see people get out of poverty. We want to see people, regardless of their backgrounds, race, religion, whatever it may be, to be able to be successful. And the Ontario Party would do that by going through the school systems. We want to get people into good paying jobs. We want to, when it comes to the trades, we want to pretty much pay for their education. We want to target funding to market-driven job sectors so that people can get the opportunities, whether they, instead of being loans, more of government support to get into those roles. Instead of being provided or handed out, we want to give a hand up.
Cognizant of the fact that it is a discussion about issues around small business, that was a good question because it did deal with people earning wages. But if do we have any other questions that have to do with small business issues? Yes? This lady in the western. If you just give your name and ask your question.
My name's Maggie, and I manage some rental properties in town for our construction clients. And I know that Supply is a huge issue in managing the cost of rental units. But we had one unit that somebody didn't pay rent starting last June, and we didn't get them out till March. So while rent controls are obviously one issue, trying to get people that are not following the rules, getting them out faster is a huge disincentive to anybody to invest more into increasing the supply in housing, which is a lot of construction people build rental units.
So I take it your question would be what would you do about this particular issue? We'll start with you, Elizabeth, 1 minute.
Thank you for that question, Maggie. I'm quite well aware of the problems in evicting people and as owners of the property getting in. Our landlord-tenant board is also a broken board in many ways. The hearings are lagging sometimes, as you probably well know, right? A year to get people out, and in the meantime, you can't get back in to get it ready, and that's what you're referring to, right? Moving people out. And so there is a system in place. It's not working effectively at all in favor of the landlords and the people that need to get into those units. I agree.
Thank you. Crystal?
Yeah, I do agree. It's not working. Yeah, I have heard some similar situations, and it's really unfortunate when that happens. And the landlords are typically paying a lot of added costs for damages and such. Yeah, and even the Landlord-Tenant Act, it's flawed on both sides for landlords and tenants. There's little in the way of protection for many tenants. At the same time, there's very little for landlords as well. And yeah, I think it needs to really be reviewed, and it needs to be revamped. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. Aaron McDonald.
I think, like most government programs, this one is flawed. We need more support for those who own the buildings, especially if you've got tenants that don't want to move and don't want to pay, especially if it's not for unforeseen circumstances. But the other thing is, again, from a government standpoint, we have so many things that are failing us as a whole today. And what we want to do is we want to look at those things and expose every aspect of the government that needs to be exposed to the light so that we can take a look at it and truly try to improve everything.
Okay. And Aaron Caden.
Thank you for your question, Maggie. I'm learning more about this as I go. My brother is a recent landlord. He lives in North Bay, and his tenants luckily are they're very punctual with their payments. He hasn't had to deal with anything like that. That being said, I'll echo what Elizabeth said. The landlord-tenant board is severely backlogged. You know, it's really bad. I understand that the government recently gave them something like $9 million or so to try to address the backlog, but in reality, it's not working fast enough. So ensuring that process is fair, like Crystal said, to both landlord and tenant is super important. It's integral to the system, but it's going to take putting your money where your mouth is. So we're going to have to invest in that. If we know that rent is an issue and landlords and tenants are having issues, then we need to make sure that the system that oversees them has enough funding so it can do its job. And that's my answer. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions?
My name is John, and this question has been alluded to and addressed to a degree by all four of the candidates here, but I would like to pose it to Jill Dunlop and any of her supporters who may be watching live on YouTube. Given Premier Ford's refusal to be interviewed by TVO, the first premier in 50 years to refuse this, as well as your refusal to address a wide variety of concerns by your constituents, which directly led to the formation of the advocacy group Orillia for Democracy, of which I'm a member, as well as the fact that Ms. Dunlop is the child of a parent who ran a small business and has already chosen to not attend a debate on Monday dealing with Just Recovery Simcoe, and is not at the debate this evening to Get Real for Small Business. I'm asking Ms. Dunlop why she deserves to be re-elected on June 2nd. And in her absence, I'd like to invite all 4 of our candidates who are here to provide an answer.
Okay. I know that we've already covered this, but if there's anything else you would like to say about this, Crystal, I'll start with you.
I am an Indigenous woman. I am a survivor of MMIW, and I was at that inquiry. I have fought for a number of years just to be visible, to have the luxury to choose when you get to go somewhere, when you don't need to have your voice heard. I don't know what that's like. I don't know what that's like. Our very survival depends on our voices and having them heard. And I would love to know what that's like, to be able to remain silent. I would love to know.
Thank you, Crystal. Aaron.
I'll come back to the accountability piece specifically with our current MPP. Again, I don't know if she was so much elected in the last election for the potential of change with Doug Ford, or if she rode any particular coattails of someone who was involved in the community at the time. For myself, I've said it to a couple people, I work 60 plus hours a week and I'm doing this because I want to see change. I'm tired, literally, and I want to see positive change. I want to see the less waste in government. The government collects enough money from us to be able to successfully run it. I know I wear a blue tie, but I also don't believe in corporations. I believe in spending our taxpayer money efficiently on the environment, on upgrading our systems, and upgrading our technologies. And that's what I want to focus on going forward.
Thank you, Aaron. Aaron Cadenhiltz.
Thanks, John, for the question. Shout out Orillia for Democracy. It's a pretty sweet Facebook group if anybody's ever heard of it. I actually would like to talk about this for a second because we have folks from the PPC, folks from the Ontario Party, Liberal folks, NDP folks, and Green Party folks, all part of that Facebook group. And it is a great place to talk about issues without hostility. So we know that politics can be hostile. Both myself and Crystal have witnessed that lately in terms of sign damage and stuff like that. But, you know, areas where you can talk about contentious political subjects and not fear some sort of aggressive retribution, either vocally or otherwise, is a great thing. So thanks for bringing that up. I'm not sure what else I can bring up about Jill Dunlop. I think her absence, essentially her absence speaks for herself.
Thank you. Elizabeth.
Yeah, I'm not sure I have much. Thanks, John, for that question. Much more to add that I already haven't said, but I just want to go back to the privilege of being a leader. You're an elected official. It's a privilege, and it's a huge responsibility, and I'm prepared to take that on and to respond and to be where people are at, whether it's good, it's bad, or indifferent. The one point I want to point out, I wrote a letter to the editor the first year of the pandemic, and I talked about leadership and how people were suffering, and we needed a leader who would come to us, who would write to us, who would show up and say, we're gonna get through this. And we had none of that. We had none of that. And to me, that's not somebody who should be representing this great riding of Simcoe North. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take 2 more questions. I believe there was one back here and there's one here. Oh, okay, 3 more questions. We'll take 3 more questions, starting with this gentleman.
Hello. I know the panelists have met me before. I'm your local, friendly, and good-looking PPC federal candidate for the 3rd time. So my question to you, we realize this is a provincial election, and we're talking about how to run the provincial government better. We all know inflation is clobbering everybody. It's clobbering individuals, and you know what? Small businesses are a lot like people. Small businesses face input costs going up, wages going up, and they're just being squeezed to avoid having to raise their prices. But this cycle goes on. It's just unavoidable. What do you think your party could do, if in power, in Ontario, to fight inflation? And my one hint is perhaps to, how have you considered the policies that you are proposing? Have your parties looked at the potential inflationary unintended consequences of these often very compassionate and useful policies?
Okay. We will start with Aaron McDonald from the Ontario Party.
I think first and foremost, one of the things we want to do to combat the inflation rate is we need to balance the budget. Having a $20+ billion deficit at minimum, because I'm looking at the other policies and potential other parties, what they're looking to do, is not going to be $20 billion deficit. We need to balance the budget. And again, I'll repeat myself in that I believe the government does accumulate enough money to reinvest in its students, in its industry, in its environmental initiatives, that it doesn't necessarily need to keep coming back to the pot, and it doesn't necessarily need to continue to borrow money, which ultimately impacts our children and our grandchildren, not only us. In order to de-escalate, well, you've got the federal government trying to increase interest rates, which is just inflaming the deficit as well, but we need to pay it down, right? But we need to reinvent how we do it, and it's not just about taxing the everyday people. It's about allowing them to live their lives, give them the opportunities that they need to do to be successful.
Thank you. Aaron Caden-Hiltz, Liberal Party.
Thanks, Stephen. That's a great question. It's something that I've been thinking about for a long time, not just in the course of this election, but other things as well. I think it's really important to recognize that we're part of a global market, so we're not insulated anymore like we were, 100, 150 years ago. We're affected by economic crises around the world. We're affected by the war in Ukraine right now that's affecting gas prices. A lot of that is due to, corporate greed and speculation on oil, but that's a different conversation. But we're part of this global market, and we can't really be insulated by it anymore. So I think bringing good industry and bringing good green jobs to Ontario is one way that's going to help us. I think balancing the budget is a great idea, but it's not always the best indicator of quality of life or inflation here in Ontario. There's a few things that we can look at, but I think becoming more energy independent is a really good thing.
5 seconds.
Investing in local homegrown business is also a really good thing.
Okay. Same question, Elizabeth?
Thanks for that question, Stephen. Read today, 31 years, the highest inflation rate in 31 years. I do remember that in the 80s. I was around at that time, much younger, and didn't feel it the way that we're feeling it now. The two areas that I want to talk about that the NDP are committed is that the people are saying inflation, they're seeing it at the pumps, of course, and the cost of food, right? We have a food insecurity issue in this province. Never in my day would I think people would be hungry. Can we control the price of food? No, we can't. But we can help people be able to get food. Right now, 1,500 people a month use our sharing place, just one food bank in this town.
5
and
seconds.
those people are seniors, and we need to affordability.
Sorry, Elizabeth,
Yeah,
got to hold you
addressing
there.
affordability. Thank you.
I know. Crystal, same question.
Yeah, our inflation has actually doubled in the last year. It's absolutely insane. I believe it was sitting just over 3% last year. Now it's sitting at just over 7%. They are, it is record highs. So the biggest reason for that is actually housing, and housing really impacts our inflation, and housing boosts our economy. It's one of the biggest economy boosters that we have. The government doesn't want to fix the housing crisis right now. and I don't see any viable solutions that they have put forward to fix this. And I don't think that, sorry. No, I don't think that,
5 seconds, sorry, Crystal.
sorry.
Gotta hold you there.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
All right. All right, we had 2 more questions, one here and one there. Yes, this gentleman right here. Please say your name and
My name's
your
Brian
question.
Ward, and I appreciate all of you coming. I am as well disappointed not to see Jill here. I came with a question for Jill, and maybe you'd like to comment on it. My background is I've been running a manufacturing company for 37 years. I've done that without government handouts, and when I hear all of you saying you're supporting canceling government loans, I think you're creating a problem. I believe that we can do involve ourselves in other measures to help people realize their potential without becoming addicted to government handouts. Most people running successful businesses want the government to get out of the way. And this lady back here who made the point about people gaming the system through COVID especially to not pay their rent. I mean, it's appalling. I've heard many of those stories, and it makes me not want to invest anything in revenue property. You've all also made good points. Crystal, I appreciated your comment about the doing what you can to keep the elderly in their homes. I didn't know it was 95% wish to do that, but that really made an impact with me. Elizabeth, you know, there's no question some of your comments about social programs, we need to listen to that, and I appreciate your comments. Aaron, it is a global issue that we're dealing with. A lot of these influences are global. We're not going to just fix it all right here. And then, of course, Aaron, I guess I have to say, we've kept the best for last. Balance the budget. I have proposed to the Ontario government, in the previous government and in this government, a path to bring our HST from 13 down to 6. And the Liberal government ignored it. I started to do speeches on it, and it made sense, but no one would act on it. They kept inviting me back. I said, you're not doing anything. I feel like it's just window dressing. So I lived in Alberta for 17 years with a 5% value-added tax. When I came to Ontario, I didn't want to buy anything. Buy a car and pay 13% when you normally pay 5%, and then when that car is resold, the person buying it has to pay it again and again and again. It made no sense. So I proposed an incentive-based healthcare program that would put us in the position of being the envy of the world. I don't think we should have to chase Norway's example, who's liquid, balances their budget, has wonderful social programs, education. It can work. You should ask businesses, how do we do this? Not how many more handouts we can offer. That's like giving someone an addiction. And Crystal, I'm sure you can speak to that. So let's balance this budget. In my view, if you can't balance it, there should be a vote of no confidence, and we'll find someone who can. Any comments on that? I really wanted to give this question to Jill.
I just wanted to
I gave this to
cut
Jill,
through that.
13% to 6%, and she didn't do anything. Mm-hmm. Okay.
just cutting through that, I just want to be clear about the question that was there, whether it was more about balancing the budget or forgiving the COVID repayment loans. Both will be fine. You have 1 minute, and we're going to start with Elizabeth Van Hoot.
Thank you for that question, Brian. Very much appreciate it. Balanced budget. We haven't had a balanced budget in this province for a very, 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 very long time, okay? And I don't know if you've looked at our costed platform, which we released on Sunday. It proposes we will run at a deficit to bring us back up healthcare, education, the things that we need to strive. And we have said we will have a balanced budget by year 4. Never in the NDP history we get accused of spend, social programs, everybody gets free handouts. Never in the history of this party have we ever not came to a balanced budget, and you can look that up. Okay? And I'm just saying that because we have this history. In terms of handouts, I'm not talking about throwing money out of a plane. I'm talking about people that are struggling. They need to meet the criteria. It's not crumbs, here you go, and there's no accountability. People would have to meet the criteria, and I think we owe that to small businesses that have been affected. Congratulations on your 37 years.
Got to hold you there, Elizabeth.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, Crystal?
Yeah, so our platform is also, it's also been costed out, and we are looking at balancing the budget by 2026 as well. But yeah, I'm just going to speak really quick just in regards to ODSP and OW. Neither of those are living wages. And typically when people do go on to those programs, when people do go on to those programs, they absolutely need to be there. And I can accept that, it's not always going to be the case with every single person. I know that there are cases that we can use as examples, but I promise you they do not represent the masses. And these people absolutely need this funding, and they're not livable wages, and we need to increase them. Sorry.
Thank you, Crystal. Sorry, I have to hold you there. Aaron McDonald.
Okay. Thanks, Brian, for the question. Yeah, we definitely need to look at balancing the budget as quick as possible. Again, the amount of government waste that we have today and the amount of ideas just in this room to potentially impact all of our lives positively needs to be taken a look at. When I talk about forgiving COVID loans, forgiving those types of things, I still look at the government should have put something else in place. They're the ones that caused the lockdowns. Yes, we had called it the initial response to what we didn't necessarily know, but as more and more information came out, we should have reopened those businesses. I feel like the small businesses should have been open even before the conglomerates, because they probably would have protected, if you will, their patrons better than anyone else. And then they would have needed any loans from the government because of those shutdowns.
Got to hold you there. Thank you, Aaron. Aaron Caden-Hiltz?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. That's there's a lot of information in there, really important stuff. Balancing the budget is something that we want to do for 2026 as well. But it's also, I think it's important to realize some bits of reality here, right? Where people fall through the cracks, and social spending is necessary in a lot of different areas. Healthcare and education in Ontario are the two biggest price tags. That's just how it goes. Ontario's the biggest province in Canada by far, like almost 13 million people here. So it's expensive to offer those services. I think our healthcare system is one of our crown jewels. We want to continue to expand on that. In terms of the COVID loans, I think for small businesses, we should really look at forgiving them, right? We want small businesses to grow. I think that's another responsibility of government, is to participate in business growth. And I understand that you've built
5 seconds, Aaron.
You've built a huge business, but other folks are not able to do some of those same things.
Have to hold you there.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we had one more question.
Great. Hi, I'm Craig Marshall. First, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank all of you for coming tonight, and for we can sit at home and moan about how things are going, but you folks have actually stepped up and decided you're going to try to do something about that. So I congratulate all of you for that. I'd like to touch on something that Crystal brought up earlier around sustainability. We're talking about getting ourselves out of the hole that we're in, both financially, particularly as it relates to small business. I would like to hear your thoughts as to how you could address both getting ourselves back and going, as well as addressing the issues of sustainability, and hopefully in a manner that's a win-win. So, if you could.
Alrighty. So we'll start with Crystal this time around. Crystal, you have 1 minute.
Yeah, no, I think that sustainability is really important, and I think that retrofitting a lot of older buildings is very green and it's very efficient. There's so much to sustainability. We have there is like the Lakehead Farms is there's a petition going around right now to preserve the Lakehead Farm, and that is a huge plot of land that is going to waste, and we could be turning that into farmland, and it could be a local business, and it could be used for students, and that's there's so much to sustainability, and Aaron mentioned good green jobs, and there's just so much to it. I don't know how to fit it all in 1 minute.
And you have 5 seconds left.
Yeah.
So, thank you. Aaron McDonald.
Obviously, I said balancing the budget, but when it comes to sustainability, we need to, again, we need to be a little more creative. So from a government standpoint, I'm going to harp back on it. We have so much waste within the government. You give me $100, I probably give you $10 back in services, right? Because of all the bureaucracy, all the things that kind of build up that government. We need to look at every aspect of the government, divulge exactly what it is. I think transparency is huge. If we worked with our communities, within our communities, to figure out where the money should actually go, how much money it is, and then spend it wisely on, again, upgrading the sewage treatment plants. We should not be putting stuff into our waterways. We could look at sustainability of food and things like that. We have this great north of Ontario. At one point in time, the trees end. Why aren't we using that to potentially build greenhouses, sustainable greenhouses, where we can provide the food we need to support ourselves? We need to build that energy corridor as well. Ontario should be self-sufficient.
I have to hold you there,
Right.
Aaron. Thank you. Aaron Cadenhiltz, same question?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. That's a good question. I've had the opportunity to study a little bit about certain sustainability issues in the wider society over the last few years, and I think as it pertains to small business, I think one of the really cool projects that I saw was the retrofitting of existing infrastructure to be more sustainable, and we can do that through government programs and grants, and I think it really helps everybody, because if you look at the greatest contributors to global warming, greenhouse gas emissions, it's primarily driving your car and heating your home. So high efficiency furnaces and high efficiency light bulbs and electrical and mechanical infrastructure is a super cool idea to me. My father's he's a mechanical engineer, and he talks nonstop about this stuff, and I've retained some of it. But I think that there's a really good future in retrofitting infrastructure. And I think that that's the direction I'm going to move in.
Thank you, Aaron. Elizabeth, same question.
Thank you. Thanks for your question. At first, I thought you meant sustainability in terms of small business development, but I see we're kind of moving to the environment, so I'll try to cover both of them. We need to build collectively in small business to grow small business and entrepreneurship. So I'll tie the entrepreneurship in, which is small business, in helping get a green economy going, getting green jobs going, having small businesses take part in our growing climate. There are 2 things that I'm most proud of with our green climate is 1 billion trees planted in our term by Youth Corps. So we're putting together the youth. That's the sustainability when we bring our youth in and we tell them that this is important. They'll earn high school credits as a part of that. I think it's a great idea. And no more highways, please. Stop the highways. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our question portion. I will give you each 2 minutes to sort of sum up, make your final pitch, if you will, to the voters in this room and who are watching on the live stream. You have 2 minutes, and we're going to start with you, Aaron McDonald.
I guess first and foremost, everybody, first and foremost, I'd like to thank Creative Nomad Studios and yourself for hosting the event, everybody for here, everybody online. The one thing I would ask is the Ontario Party is not a new party. We existed in 2018. We ran 5 candidates. Our current leader, Derek Sloan, joined on to our charter because he believed in our charter. The 105 candidates that we do have confirmed within this election all believe in that charter. We are all individuals. We are all people from all walks of life. Okay. On June 2nd, you have a choice. You can stick with the legacy parties, which have continuously failed us, or you have an opportunity to give another party a chance, one that wants to look at how things have gone over the 100+ years of this country and look towards something new in the future. We are the only party that want to look at, or that we don't have whip votes. Everyone else on this panel, I think besides Crystal, has to follow a party platform. They have to follow it. If there's something that is brought up by our party that Simcoe North does not agree with, I have the ability to vote against it. I have the ability to actually make your vote count, okay? Really no other party can do that, for the most part, okay? The other thing that we want to do is we want to build accountability into our MPPs, into our government. If I'm not living up to what I promised, if I disappear for 4 years, you should be able to hold my feet to the fire and get rid of me after 2. Bring someone else in who will do the job that you voted them in to do, okay? So again, that's really what sets us apart. Specifically with the, what's going on with the current PC government, we got a $20 billion deficit, again, not balancing the budget.
Sorry, Aaron, I have to hold you
Yeah,
there.
I apologize. What else?
Welcome to the club, man. Here you go.
Alrighty. Aaron Caden-Hiltz, Liberal Party.
Yeah, first of all, thank you to the wonderful folks at Creative Nomad Studios. You have a beautiful place here. My girlfriend was looking at a lot of your art, and I'm sure that some of it might find its way into my house one day. Thank you so much, Carrie, for the questions, and then thanks for folks participating and asking questions. It's been a wild ride the last little while, and like I said in my opening, I decided that I wanted to run to try to fix healthcare and fix education, but it's become so much more than that, right? This is a big riding. It's a really big place. From Ramera to Christian Island, Midland, Orillia, Wabashine, Tay and Tiny Township, Victoria Harbor, all the places in between. It's a big riding. There's a lot of diverse issues that are going on, and I've been having the time of my life just talking to folks and then trying to explain my ideas for what I think a better Simcoe North looks like. I also made it clear to the Liberals before I ran that I wouldn't have my vote whipped, and I've been very clear with them from the get-go. That if anything comes up that goes against the needs or the values of my constituents, then I'm going to vote against it. And I've been clear with that for sure. I'm not trying to be the premier. I don't have these wild political ambitions. I just want to represent my community because of what they've done for me. And my community adopted me. My community pulled me out of homelessness. My community brushed me off and sent me to school so I could learn these things, so I could talk to you people today. And that's where my loyalty lies. And on June 2nd, I hope that we earn your vote, because we've been working really, really hard to try to understand all these really complex issues. And I believe that we've built a platform that addresses all of it. So
15 seconds.
thank you so much, everyone, for coming and participating.
Thank you, Aaron. Okay. Elizabeth Van Hoot, your last pitch to voters that may be here in the room or listening at home.
Thank you, Carrie, for moderating, and to Creative Nomad Studios for this opportunity to meet all of you tonight. And I can tell you I love meeting people. My favorite part of campaigns is canvassing, because I get to meet people at the door and ask them what's most important to you, and to be able to listen and empathize. I came to live here 12 years ago. I couldn't be more proud to raise my family here and to live a vibrant life. What I've seen happen in the last 30 years of 2 consecutive governments have got us to where we are today. I believe in planning, I believe in listening, and I believe in collectivism. We're not here to take each other down. We're all here to have a good quality of life. Also want to comment, I'm not running for a party that I don't believe 100% in their policy. My moral compass, my values, and my beliefs are aligned with this party. But if a bill or a motion comes forward that doesn't represent any of you in this room, I will not vote for it. And I know I won't lose my seat because I'm here for you. Other parties have shown that. You vote against them, you're gone. That will not be me. June 2nd, in fact, Vance polls open tomorrow. Get out and vote and read the platforms. You've met all of us, and look for the person and the policies that are going to benefit you, your friends, and your family the most. Thank you.
24 seconds to spare.
That's awesome.
Oh, I'll add something. I commit to being available, transparent, and honest in all of my efforts in Simcoe North when I become your next MPP. Thank you.
Okay. You're using all your minutes. All right, Crystal, 2 minutes to tell people why they should vote for you and the Green Party.
Okay, I feel like I've done a good job of proving, that I can be present. This has been absolutely nerve-wracking. Thank you all for being so nice. But yeah, no, gosh, what do I say that hasn't already been touched on? We don't whip our votes, so I don't know if that's already been said, I guess, so I don't really have that to compete with right now. But yeah, no, for me, my fight has been, it's always been, with me and with, just trying to be, and it's been with my kids and my family, and, it goes back to the community, and it always has for me. That's always been where my heart is, and I am a part of this community, and I think that just that is something that, just being here, being a part of the community is so important, and we haven't seen that in our leadership right now. And we talk about Indigenous leadership quite consistently when we talk about our climate, and when we talk about just anything in general, we talk about Indigenous leadership, but it's not necessarily something that we welcome very freely. And I just really want to show Simcoe North what I can do, and I really think that I am qualified, despite my awkwardness.
Thank you, Crystal. Well, that brings our evening to a close. I just want to say one thing, well, a couple things, because I talk a lot. That's what I do for a living. First off, I just want to say to the people who are watching or maybe in this room who don't think that small business impacts them, I'd like to tell you how wrong you are. Small business impacts everyone in this province. It is the engine of our province. It employs a lot of people. A lot of people rely on the businesses that are established as well. So we all do need to support local and support our small businesses for sure. If you don't think that it is your issue, but you have other things that you find are top of mind during this election campaign, you've met the 4 candidates here for Simcoe North. There are a few notable absences, Jill Dunlop as well as Mark Doris from the Blue Party of Ontario. Go seek them out. Go to their campaign offices. Send them an email. Whatever you have to do to find your local candidate, do it. Go to the websites, research their platforms, see what the costs of those are. Anything that is important to you, I would just urge you to be informed. And if you do nothing else, make sure you cast a vote. June 2nd, and as was mentioned, the advance polls actually open this week on Thursday, tomorrow. But take the time. Make sure you're informed. Cast an informed vote. I really want to thank all 4 of you for being here. You've enlightened everybody in this room, and hopefully the people at home as well, on what your parties represent, what you represent. So thank you very much. And again, one more thing, please. Everybody here at home, vote. June 2nd, that's election day.